Hello and welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. Good to see you all, or hear you all, or
you hear us.
you hear us. So, looking at this from last week's perspective, episode 3, we touched on you need life insurance to get a mortgage, and we busted that myth. Mm-hmm. We had Jo Brown, one of our protection advisors, on the chat, and she really enjoyed it. It was really good, and I think Baz, for you, I think you went away.
It's good. Yeah, I got a lot out of it, I think.
Yeah.
So I went away and looked at policies and stuff that I've got, and so I was thinking, do I need protection away from my mortgage? So not just my mortgage, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, because this is funny because we're reenacting what happened during the week. So as soon as Baz got off there, he went home and probably looked at his family and thought, that's all good, but he had a lesson in protection off Jo. So he's already asked this question, so we're just going to kind of repeat what went on, because technically it became a bit of advice, didn't it? And I think your question is best answered on this podcast rather than going into your personal. I'll go into mine. So a lot of the advice that we give, it's restricted because we've got to do right for the customer, and sometimes what's right for the customer in terms of protection is controlling them, because you can get carried away with protection. Everyone would have more cover, millions and millions of pounds of cover, if they could afford it, and sometimes they can push themselves into thinking I need that, when in reality no one's going to need protection, because you're gonna live a healthy life, and you're going to turn 90-year-old and your mortgage is paid off and you don't need it. That's what we want. And when you look at the percentages, the likelihood of it happening to you is quite low. But
when you looked at what Jo, the stats Jo had, it's not as low as you think, is it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So like, we're not trying to scare people into it, but people can scare themselves and they come away with. So we've got to make sure that they have the right protection, which covers what the mortgage. That's our fault that they've got a mortgage, where the mortgage advisor would give them that debt. But then it's like you go deeper thinking, and what I've done personally is I think, well, actually, what would happen if I wasn't here? I've got to cover the fact that my family depends on my income, as I do my wife's income. And if I'm not here, I need to protect this business. I've got staff. So I need to replace me in this business. I need another me to be able to jump into my seat, which is X amount a year. And that needs to be at least for 5 years to be able to kind of...
Yes, that's nothing to do with your mortgage, that's your business.
Yeah, and my lifestyle, because my business is... My lifestyle is dependent on my business doing well, and me not being here. Likewise, if my wife wasn't there, I wouldn't be able to run this business, because I'd have to be at home. And that's the reality, and that's what you went home and thought about. All good, your mortgage being zero, but the mortgage is just one bill that you live to, because you'd have to pay rent if you didn't have a mortgage. That's the reality. And when you came back to us and asked us about that, it was interesting, because I hope that's what everyone else got out of it. You know, this is why we're doing these. We're not trying to scare people. We're not trying to twist people's arm.
You're not wanting a wrong answer. You're not wanting to think, I've got nothing covered. You're wanting to think, I've checked that and it's right, I'm okay.
But that's why the myth was busted the other way around, because it would have been easier to use a myth to scare people. Yeah. Because people do come to us and say, I need life insurance, don't I, for my mortgage? And if we were wrong-uns, we could say, you know what, you do, because that means we get a sale, and we've used their fear to get... Well, the answer is no, you don't.
You just need to think about it.
But you need to be educated on, like, let's have a look. Do you need it? So we reverse that and we look at the facts and how would you survive if you didn't have it? And normally that painted picture that we're giving them results in them going, I need it. And like it did for you, it's more like, well, actually, that's all good. But I had to rein you back, because you were like, well, actually, if I wasn't here, or like, so you've got 4 kids. So say you had to look after your kids for the next 19 years on your own, you could come up with a sum that was millions. Of course you could, but sadly life goes on, and that's what will happen. So you need an amount that can get you through that horrible transition.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we ended up with agreeing. And that's what I've done, is I've built myself a package which I can afford. It's bloody expensive, but peace of mind, like if anything did happen, God forbid, to me or my wife, finances won't
just never know.
Won't be on my mind. It'll just be about looking after my family, which is where it should be, you know.
But, and I know we've said this before, and I know this is called like Mythbusters, but if you look on the website, there's loads of different frequently asked questions, Mythbusters and things like that are on there. So there'll be little things that we maybe didn't touch on, that people can look online or even just get in contact with you, drop me an email.
It's all about, isn't it? Education. And I think that's how protection should be seen. It should be given the information for people to make their own decision. We call ourselves advisors because we are, and we are supposed to advise, but I think it becomes a joint decision on what the person needs, because there'll be times where people don't think they need it and we can turn that around, but there'll also be those times like you went through where you were like, right, Paddy, I need millions of life insurance, and like we all want that, and that would be great, but the reality is let's be sensible, because you could spend all your money per month on a life insurance policy that never needs to be executed, never needs to be transacted into paying out, and that money could have been spent on enjoying your life and having a holiday with the kids, which to me is just, you've got to draw that line. You never know what's around the corner, and I think as long as you've had the chat with someone that knows what they're doing.
I think as well it's tough at the minute, because I know we keep harking back to mortgages and it pays off your mortgage, but at the minute your bills aren't that far behind. Your energy bills aren't that far behind your mortgage payments, the way they're going.
Completely agree, mate.
And cost of living and everything.
Well, hopefully the message got across, because that's what we're doing, and we're desperate to do more with Jo. The reality is she's ridiculously busy looking after our customers, so we want to get her in here to talk about the specific policies, and that's what we'll do in the future. Not today though, today.
Before we move on, can we just say a little disclaimer that we have two guests today, but one of them is a dog. So there might be some strange noises, and it's not us. It's the dog. If anyone's panicking.
She's going to be quiet. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fast asleep.
So Alice has just given it away. Alice is back today, and our myth that we are busting today is you won't find a mortgage advisor on TikTok.
Yep.
Ooh. This is a proper one for the kids.
I know. Can't wait.
This is where it's all at the minute, isn't it?
And we're not bringing Alice on because we ran out of guests, because we are launching our TikTok.
We're
launching our TikTok, and
we've made a promise to be less posh.
Mythbusted.
More down to earth.
Mythbusted is done. You'll find us on TikTok, so that's done, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see ya.
I didn't know that was so quick for me. Great.
Yeah, it's good, wasn't it? So, like, from my point of view, I obviously have done a lot of the things for social media for you, but with TikTok, I'm not on TikTok. I think I've got an account on Instagram I've just set up, but that's it. Facebook is my kind of thing. I've dabbled in Twitter a little bit for the business, but not much. So I think this might be a bit more of an education for me as well about how people use it and things like that. But as you said there, the myth is you'll not find someone on TikTok. So does this mean that you are on TikTok?
It is, yeah. We are live.
Right.
We're authorised on TikTok, as in like we have to get that channel approved, just like we did our Facebook and Instagrams. So it's approved, and we're off there to educate, and it's ideally going to be full of information which is useful. It's not necessarily where a mortgage advisor come and use us.
So to stop you there, my idea of TikTok is like people doing these stupid challenges or little like 30-second like little reels. You're not going to be doing challenges, surely. What are you like? What kind of? What are you? No, but what are you using it? What are you wanting to give there? Is there information and stuff on there?
All about information, but I think the true answer is we don't know yet. And it'll be what we don't want to do is have a channel that's just boring. But at the same time, we don't want to be something we're not. So we're not going to just start doing dances when you've never seen me do a that dance anyway. But we're gonna use that creative side that we were blessed with from Alice to be able to see, and you. I mean, your company's called Be Creative.
BeCreativeCompany.co.uk.
So you'd expect you were creative, but yet to be seen. But with that, we want to be creative in thinking, actually, what can we put in the mix of all this useful information out there? Because TikTok is a different medium to we've ever been in before. Normally, it's about putting out the information, and for all, we're not directly saying come and contact us. Now it's about the brand, and we're getting it out there. With TikTok, it's different because you don't have to necessarily follow somebody to watch a video clip, and it I don't know how the algorithms work, but we could appear on after seeing 5 goals from a footballer, and then the beach holiday, and then nice waterfall, then suddenly you're onto the mortgage advisor. So it's about timing and reaching out to that different audience. TikTok is a young audience, so we're looking at those folk that are potentially thinking about buying a house, and if that caption that we're publicising answers a question that they've been looking for, it'll grab their attention. Also, the way that TikTok works and how I was introduced to it, because I'm not on it necessarily on a personal one, but I still, and you've probably had this, I'm guessing, where someone sends you via WhatsApp a clip that's on TikTok for you to watch. It's a funny clip.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to work, and that's how it does work with mortgages, because someone will be getting a mortgage, someone will know about that person. So let's say it's a self-employed builder. We always go back to this, but a self-employed builder can get a mortgage because they're on the CIS scheme. Too deep to go into it. We'll cover that another day. But someone might have been knocked back from their bank, and their friend would send them a clip to say, "Oh, have you seen this?" So it's kind of, they're sharing that education that they've seen in the middle of watching all these daft videos. They've seen something educational that they're going to pass on to their friends that will watch it. So then you've got two people watching it. And I think that's where we're aiming for is TikTok. I mean, God knows what they're going to create in the future. But basically, having a YouTube channel, great. Having a Facebook channel, great. Having an Instagram channel, great.
Instagram.
Good. Enough said on that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back to TikTok. So having that, we've covered all bases, and not everyone is on all of the mediums, but it's very transferable. So if we do a podcast, this is an hour long, a snippet of something great that, let's not say Barry's not going to say it. Is it?
Well, it's probably my best bits.
Baz's best bits,
30
like,
seconds, isn't it?
we'll call it the bloopers,
Small
Baz's
30
bloopers.
Yeah.
Cool.
We could put 30 seconds of that, and then we could put some images over the top, and then that's quite funny and entertaining. So
is your aim to draw people to other medias, to draw people to the website, or draw people to get in contact with you, or is it to put in these snippets, a little bit like these Mythbusters, education? Is it what, or is it a bit of both? Or is it open-ended at the minute? Do you not know what you're going to
bit of both, and we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's probably going to end up more on the education side because, like you're saying, we're doing a few little snippets of information. We'll probably answer some FAQs for the younger generation who are more first-time buyer-y.
Well, that's it. I suppose it's a young people's media, like
Yeah.
you've said, but in 5 years' time, they're going to be maybe wanting a mortgage, or their
exactly.
parents might want a mortgage, or their uncle or something. You know, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I suppose it is more, it's further reaching than just the kids on there, isn't it?
Yeah. That's
So what's
exactly
your
it.
role in this analysis? What are you sort of scripting things or coming up with ideas for things, or are you kind of just like what are you?
I'd
what
say
are you-
like let's class it
putting
as a
out there?
creative director
Right.
for Paddy who says
Yeah.
he doesn't want to do dances, and I'm
Yeah.
probably going to try and make him do them for a laugh one
maybe
time.
something happens,
Yeah,
so-
yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to basically direct Paddy on what I think is going to work, and it's going to be trial and error for us at the start with TikTok
Right,
and
that's a good
seeing,
way of putting it.
seeing
And
how
do you
it's going
think
to
that'll
work.
be sort of powered by research into things? So say like, I don't know, the interest rates changing, will you then pick up on that and try and do a little bit of a thing on that? Or
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
it's
Is it
so.
going to be kind of like trends and things that are happening at the time? Or
So that's what we've done on the website is we've created an A to Z. Okay, so like on the A you might have affordability, okay, arrears, and it'll give us a slight mortgage related description or protection related, because we've got a mortgage A to Z and a protection A to Z. It'll give a description, ideally just a couple of sentences to what that particular subject is. And what that is, that's the basis of everything. So of that A in affordability, we can then go on to build a blog on that. So we expand. We can then do a vlog. We can then do a shorter 30-second snippet, which can appear on YouTube Shorts, on
and if it's a
Instagram,
big thing, we do a podcast.
or on
and
TikTok.
kind of-
The big thing is, so we can take the snippets from here onto the medium. So basically what we're doing is anything mortgage related. So like you just said there, interest rates dropping or interest rates getting hiked, then yeah, that's relative and it's now. The way TikTok works, if a video is very popular, you could see that in 6 months' time and you think that's
Oh,
related.
okay.
So I don't think we'll be doing like kind of a broadcast. That would be for the Facebook channel.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe his Instagram. So TikTok needs to be more of a cycle of information, I think. We might touch on it because obviously it's important, but we wouldn't be expecting that post to be as helpful on TikTok as it might be a post that just gives information which sticks. So can I get a mortgage if I'm under 21? Yes, you can. That's something that will stay there for life unless the lenders seriously change their rules.
Yeah.
You know, but I presume we'd have to remove that.
So it's probably going to be more general information rather than specific to the time.
It won't be a news broadcast. I don't know if they do that. I mean, I'm sure they do, but it must be annoying to see a news broadcast that says the A66 shut.
Because we're on lockdown again. And,
I've done it on on YouTube. I've logged onto YouTube and went to stick Sky News on, and it's actually Sky News from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm packing up. I'm grabbing my case of beers and I'm heading to my garden.
Go and get some tests.
Dream.
Get some tests. But it's one of those where I think like you just said, Alice, trial and error.
Yeah.
But we, by the A to Z, say a new terminology comes into mortgages, okay, then if we haven't already got it on our A to Z, we'll put it in. That'll lead to a blog, which if people like reading, it's there. People like listening, it's there. Podcast about it, maybe, yes or no, do we do that? Something like a good example of that is arrangement fees. We're certainly not going to do a podcast about arrangement fees. We probably won't do a blog because we can answer that within the A to Z, what an arrangement fee is. But when it comes to fees in general, we could do a podcast about fees associated because there's all different types of fees.
Right.
So I think the A to Z is if we were to say we're making like the next Terminator movie, the A to Z is like the start of that. From that, we then go ahead to make our sequels. So we've got affordability, show one, which is just a graphic that you do, Baz, for us, an image of affordability. That's our first starting point, boom. But then people want to know more, they'll go into the blog. So there's the sequel, and so on, and so on, and so on. But not every bit of information within that A to Z will have episode 3 or
no.
You know,
it's just sort of segregating out what's important and what needs to be.
Mortgage is boring enough. So to drag it out,
This
and
podcast isn't, though, is it?
making a podcast about something that's boring is not going to be ideal. But we can group things up to be able to make sure.
You say it's boring, but for most people, it leads to the most exciting part, or one of the most exciting parts of their life, doesn't it? Getting your house, or getting, or or even if you're buying something to rent or anything, could be.
Honestly, when people see our TikToks, they're probably going to think that's cool, but it's the effort that has to go into getting that point anyway. For one, you've got to be reputable. You've got to be a good mortgage advisor because people are just going to call you out. Your competitors are going to watch and they're going to say, no, that's not right. You've also got to get it approved by your network or the FCA if you're directly authorised. That's not easy. The content on there is going to be monitored and they're going to make sure that you're speaking about things that is factual and truth. But also, if it's an advert as such, which some of them will be, you need an appointment, get in touch with us. Example, that would be an advert that has to get approved. That might need re-editing. It might need.
So that needs approving because what? Because it's a call to action to get someone to come and get in contact with you.
It's a call to action, which to me, to people knowing our brand, that's what we want. Yeah. So there's ways of doing that. We're not going out with TikTok and paying them money to be able to come and say, right, okay, let's get our video to the top of the pile.
Yeah.
We're going to try and do this organically. So it's there and people get to know the personality of the guys within PGS, whilst also getting some information, whilst also not instantly seeing the PGS TikTok pop up and skipping it because they think it's boring. They're going to be looking out about what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be a very quick question that might trigger somebody, or the question might not answer the question that they're looking for the answer, but they'll think, right, let's go to their page and let's see if they've got the answer to my question. And if not, drop us a message with the question and we can do a one on that,
exactly.
you know. So like we'll create call to actions without asking for them because people will see that we're there and obviously ask us questions, but we haven't specifically went out there and said get in touch. But people should do. I would, if I had a builder on TikTok and I needed my fence building, and I'd ask them if it was a picture of their work. They're not saying come and use me or come again.
Are you needing some work done in the house? Because you keep going back to builders all the time.
Yeah, he's trying to get them on side, isn't he?
But the point's like valid though, isn't it? Really, it's like it's a tough one. I mean, without getting dragged into that too much, I think we should maybe move on to that. It's not just TikTok that you're doing. So social media in general. What are you on, basically?
So just going back on TikTok, we're on TikTok now because we weren't allowed on it previously.
Oh, right.
The FCA weren't too happy about TikTok. I don't know why. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it wasn't a medium that allowed us to explore because it wouldn't have been approved. Okay, I'm sure there was accounts created, but it wouldn't have been something that our network were happy with. The other Facebooks, the Instas. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram,
Twitter.
We are on Twitter, I believe. Yeah.
I remember before I did any work for you, I know your mortgage advisor, Chris. I've known him for a number of years, and he's a bit of an idiot, but he was always he started working here, loved working here, was always putting on Facebook about working here, and he'd put the hashtag mortgage life. Is that something that you lot came up with, and is that actually like a hashtag on? You seem to do it as well, or you did in a lot of your other course. Was that something you were trying to get for trending? So was that setting the seeds for this whole kind of social media?
Well, mortgages is my life,
campaign,
sadly. So like I hashtagged it. I don't think I'm not going to go out there and say I was the first person, but I didn't hear it anywhere else. But hashtag mortgage life. Like there's two ways to look at that. Everyone's got a mortgage life. They've got a mortgage because you're paying off your mortgage for your life. You know,
and your life's geared working to pay off your mortgage.
Yeah, but my mortgage life is more like this is our life. This is what we live in. We can't get away from it. Being a mortgage advisor is 24/7 because you'll wake up in the middle of the night and you'll come up with the solution to the problem that you were having at dinner time yesterday. So the hashtag mortgage life led to, I think it's the name of our newsletter that we send out to our customers. We're starting to do that. And again, that's not much marketing. It's more directing people that are already our customers to the mediums that we have out there. So we're going to put snippets on that newsletter to say that's there, because you've got a responsibility. Like a mortgage, we just said, is for your life. So let's say it's 25 years, which if you commit murder, that's life. And it's a long, long, long time. So when you think about, we've got you the mortgage, we've got a responsibility to do protection. We've touched on that. But you've also got a responsibility to look after it, because you've got life events, you've got deaths, children, you've got pay rises, losing job, ill health. And we need to be touching base with you, not just because the fixed rate ends and it's that 2 years, because that to me is selfish, because we're only contacting a customer when there's more money for us to make. Realistically, if we touch base with our customer once a month, they could decide to opt out, like I do on many newsletters that I'm party to. But it's also a reminder that we're there, because you shouldn't, and I'm saying this truthfully, you shouldn't remember who your mortgage advisor is every single second of the day. And when a time comes and you need us, whether it's for an illness you've had, a broken bone you've had, and you want to know if your insurance policy covers you for it, then other than being saved in the phone, you need that reminder of who we are.
It's a bit of it's like a balancing act, isn't it? Like I'm rubbish. I never unsubscribe to anything, so my inbox is just full, and this junk comes into all the time. Yeah. But so it's kind of, if you're peppering people with stuff, they don't see it. No. But if you're doing it just every so often, it's finding that sort of niche time to get things to them. You know, if something just pops up, if I see in with all that dirge of stuff I've got in my inbox, if I see something that isn't usually there, you kind of, oh, right, okay, I'll have a look at that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of just, it's hard to not bombard people, but also to keep yourself sort of relevant and in the mind. But then on an alternative thing, I've just had it today where I'm rubbish when it comes to MOT and servicing on my car. I totally forget all the time. And that's it's only when I get a reminder that it's coming up for service and MOT that I get in contact with the garage, and then it's like, it's always late in the day, you know what I mean? If there was something keeping me updated about it every so often, maybe a month, 2 months in advance, I'd go, oh, I need to get that. I probably still forget.
Yeah. Honestly thought you were going to incriminate yourself there. We were going to cut that down to a snippet.
No, it's not. It's not out until the end of this month. I've sent a message off this morning.
Blackmail Baz section of the podcast.
So it's not out till when?
End of August, is it?
I was going to say, is this podcast will probably come out in April?
Yeah. No, it's all.
So it's not out. Aye.
It's all above board.
Lost my train of thought there, but when?
Yeah, but it's a fine line of not overdoing it and getting people just annoyed with the silence.
Everyone does a newsletter and everyone markets, and I think PJS have always been a little bit different, so our newsletter needs to be different. So we'll talk about the month. We'll talk about Mibby's Wins, the charity events that we're doing. We'll talk about staff. We'll highlight the podcasts that we did. Hopefully we're doing one a week, so we'll have a good month to choose from.
And also a relevant one article of what's sort of trending.
Exactly. That's why we'll probably be, like Paddy says, we won't leave it still on like the social medias, but in the newsletters we can say, well, this is what's happening right now, because you're reading it right now and then it's gone. So that's where we'll be talking about the
Do you know
relevant
what?
topics.
It's just made me think that maybe it's on the newsletter. We should be putting some sort of like call to action for engagement with the customers. We've got to get them approved anyway. But what I mean call to action is not like use us. I think like we've ran competitions before to like our Facebook, and we've give away prizes.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if we should look at that, where if people do not read the newsletter, we're not going to test them on it, but maybe encourage them to ask a question mortgage related.
Yeah, give us your myths.
Like the best question of the month. You know, one of my good friends uses social media very, very well. He's called Brian Eves. He's the owner of Easy Chili. I think this isn't a video podcast yet, but we've got an Easy Chili old ammo box up there with the chilies in. You'd like it, Baz.
Yeah, I do.
You love a bit of chili.
Well, I don't know about that.
But he does marketing very well, and what he does, he's got like his flags, he's got stickers, and he does a monthly competition of a photo where people advertise him. Now, honestly, he's got his flags with Easy Chili on it, like out the back of like fighter jets and stuff. Like, that's amazing. So I think people engage with him and do this photo competition to win his chili. You can't win a mortgage. You can't win mortgage advice. But I think we need to think about something like that, like stealing what he's been successful at.
Borrowing.
No, he's got to stop saying like stealing, doesn't he?
This is because
This is just the incriminating podcast, this one, clearly.
Yeah, so TikTok, that's a go at. Are you the only person that's doing it? The only mortgage?
No, I think when the FCA give like the go ahead, I think everyone did what we did.
Okay.
People, when I say everyone, this is why the myth's there, because like people will know mortgage advisors, especially our audience that's like our age. Those mortgage advisors might not be on it because it's just not them. It's not me. I mean, like, I think we did TikTok during lockdown because I think it was a way of talking to your mates.
I didn't do it then. I had newborns. So
let's not talk about lockdown for Baz.
Last of my worries. So it's a young person's kind of thing, but it's kind of stood the test of time. It was that new thing in lockdown. It was that big thing, but it is kind of still a lot of people go on it. I mean, I listen to other podcasts, not as good as this one, but like professionally run ones. Comedians and things, and they bang on about it all the time, and they lose days in it, on TikTok. Do. And it is a big thing, and I mean, it's kind of covering all bases, isn't it? You've got newsletters.
The only thing we're not on Jeremy Vine, we're not on Loose Women, we're not on TV advertising. But there's nothing to say that. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to get out there and give my opinion on the market and things like that. Martin Lewis does it very well. He's a good friend of brokers.
But you have been on podcasts. You've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not about it's about growing the brand and getting out there. I think we're a different type of mortgage advisor than the that you'd get if you looked at in a dictionary. What you'd expect, and I think by being on TikTok, those mortgage advisors that are on there with us are going to be up my street. That the type of mortgage advisor I'd want to deal with, not because they're doing daft videos. Just because they're modern and they're clearly using technology.
Do you think the times are changing? Do you think there's kind of like an old guard mortgage advisor? And do you think obviously it's a totally different world now? 100%. I know we've been into a touch on technology.
It'll be frightening, isn't it? I mean, like obviously more like at some point I'll be 70-year-old and I'll be a mortgage advisor, and God will be doing hologram appointments, won't we? And I'll be like,
no, you'll still be doing TikTok dances. Everybody who's younger will be doing the holograms.
I'm not doing that. I mean, Tommy, my son, and my daughter Emmy, like we did a video with them that's been approved, and. Like they get it and they understand. Tommy's got his own YouTube channel. I kind of plug it. It's probably not right to, but I've got it. He's got his own YouTube channel, and he got an email from YouTube the other day that said he like 3,000 views.
Wow.
You know, and all he does.
I think a lot of them would be my son because they.
Well, he does the games, but he also does acting and things like that, and like you kind of discourage your kids from doing that. You've got to protect them from being on TikTok because like you're looking at a mortgage advisor one second, and then the next second it could be anything.
Yeah.
But that goes on YouTube Shorts, and it goes on to Facebook Reels, your Insta Reels. So like they're all there, and I think it's just about like my son is creating YouTube, so he's going to grow up with that medium for picking up the things when he wants to buy trainers, when he wants to buy a holiday, and if we're not on there, we're going to miss out. So yeah, I wouldn't say the good thing is we are not following the crowd. We are like kind of the one that's getting followed.
So you do kind of pride yourself. I know that, as I said, harking back to before I was working for you, you do a lot of Facebook. You're very active on Facebook. So do you think you are leading the way? In effect, do you think you're really going to put a lot of time and effort into this to try and hope that other people do it as well?
That's the thing, is like people will just mimic our success, you know. I'm following a lot of businesses on, like I said about Easy Chili, that are doing it right. But that's right to me. That's how I like it.
Exactly.
There's a lady called the Legal Queen. She does it. She's amazing. Like the way she puts her very complicated industry across is just how you want it. Imagine having a legal issue. You've asked your mates, you've asked your family, you've had a bit of the old advice that you found on Tinternet, but then it's answered in a 30-second clip by someone who's qualified to give the answer. And I think that's like powerful. So like we follow her. I mean, funny story. I also follow these kids that pop up on whether it be TikTok or Insta. They're called the Four Brothers. I don't know if anyone's ever seen them listening. They're hilarious, and they're just like, they've got that kind of Ricky Gervais humour, David Brent in The Office, where they're like the awkward. But then I saw a picture on Instagram of her at a wedding with her 4 sons, and it was them.
Right.
So like, you've got that mixture of
family
like
business.
She's very professional the way she does it. I mean, I'm not, like I say, I won't use the word steal, but I like the way that she's asked the question, she answers it. It's what me and Alice are going to work towards, and I think I should incorporate Tommy and my kids in it. I think people relate to that, and also
That's why I'm here, isn't it? Someone who doesn't know what they're on about.
Well, I'm not a million miles
but
behind.
she's done it, and then her sons are successful on their own thing with like comedy. But then she's not comedic, but she's obviously listening. Well, let's give her a bit of credit. She's a solicitor, but I think her sons have got a lot of play with that, because they've obviously said this would be a good idea, Mum. And they've listened, and like Tommy's not at the age where he's giving me ideas, but he won't be far off, and he can do a lot. He'd put you out of a job soon, but I guarantee.
No chance of that.
Oh, it might be Christian.
Yeah.
We've always joked and talked about it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
why not?
Succession. And Emmy's like so creative that why wouldn't you listen to that younger generation? And we're talking, Emmy's 7 and Tommy's 9, and I'm talking about them as inspiration for what I'm doing my marketing on, because they are glued to it. And like Christmas lists these days, when you're writing lists for Santa and that, it won't come out of the Argos catalogue anymore. It'll be reels, won't it?
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's captive market in a way, because I can sit down if our kids are on the iPad, and I know it's not a good thing to do, but they do. Kids nowadays, you've got to live with it. This is what they're glued to stuff. But you rarely see them. If something pops up, they'll usually give it at least 20-30 seconds to see if they're interested in it first. So you do a 30-second reel, chances are they're going to watch it rather than be bothered to skip past it. So it's like, it's one of those. It's almost like guerrilla marketing, isn't it? In a way, you put enough out there, eventually they're going to see it. But
So normally, Baz, you ask us questions. My question for you, to put you on the spot, is what was the last purchase you made online because of online advertising that if it wasn't for that you wouldn't have seen?
I'm very tight, so I don't spend much money. But it's a bit, it's not a funny story at all. It's a bit of an annoying story, but I quite like my gadgets and stuff. Yeah. And before Christmas, I saw that like there was people selling these laser etchers, so where you can etch, things into, I don't know, wood, or you can make like crafty stuff, and you can etch onto glass and stuff. And I think it was about 50 quid. So I told Ellen, who's my wife, and it'd be quite a nice little thing for us to play with on Christmas Day. So yeah, she bought it, and then luckily did it on a credit card, but the tracking thing that came through was horrendous. It was like someone had knocked it up on Paint. So I was worried. I Googled it, massive scam. And then eventually, because I'd raised a claim and stuff like that, eventually something did turn up, but it wasn't a laser etcher, it was a pair of furry earmuffs that came from them, so they could say that something had turned up.
So had you seen this laser etcher online?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Right, all right.
Popped up on Facebook, and then as soon as I Googled it, there's hundreds and hundreds of other businesses, foreign businesses, that have exactly the same videos on there. And it's just a massive scam.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Because like we're touching on something there that like it does have a bad reputation, and people associate scams with the these mediums.
Yeah.
And we're looking at getting into that. There is, like, I could.
But the difference is you're regulated. There's no
I could
regulation
spot a
with
scam,
stuff like
but
that.
there's nothing wrong with like.
But you can't.
There's nothing to there is massively something wrong, but there's nothing stopping someone who wasn't regulated putting on something and saying they are.
Yeah.
There is ways to check. There's like obviously we're associated via our podcast to the website. The website has our information. But anyone can put a website that looks like they are, but there is ways of checking our FCA number. You put that against the FCA register and you can find us.
But there's not necessarily going to be people who bother to do that, and who's to say that some guy in a suit who has nothing to do with mortgages can't sit and tell you what to do about mortgages and things. And it's that kind of thing that's worrying, but also, like Paddy says, you can double check this, and when it's coming to the biggest purchase of your life, you want to make sure it's not the case of just a laser etcher that you're risking the money on.
Well, that's the thing though, it's a bargain. For things like that, it does work, scamming people. If it's something that is cheap, you think,
you can afford to.
I've done it. I've looked at drones and stuff like that. That looks really good. And then you look into them and stupid kind of, impulse kind of buy, but it's so annoying.
Happened to me as well. Like, I bought some clothes for like 20 quid, and then just about 3 months later I was like, that never turned up. So I did end up chasing it up, but it's daft stuff like that, isn't it, that you just don't think about.
We've been doing our research and we saw we looked at another mortgage company that was doing a video, and the video went viral, like 90,000 views, and it was on bank statements, and it was tips for mortgage advice. And that particular person was telling people that not to put the dodgy statements on your so it would be the dodgy references on a transaction. So you send it to a mate and you put something daft.
Which I touched on last time, because I loved it. And that's what that's.
But they were saying if you do that, you'll get your mortgage declined.
All right.
And that's not true. Yeah, so we could go up against that person, like they do a mirror. We could listen to their advice, or what they were doing was giving information. It's a cracking tip. Don't do it. I mean, I agree with it. Don't do it. Yeah. But it's not going to stop you getting a mortgage. Yeah.
So you could almost myth bust other invalid information.
We'd never get into it. We'd never get it. The cowboys have gone in the industry. I've said this before. But when people are wrong, then if they're listening to that video and it's ending their journey of buying a home, that's where it's wrong.
So would you do that? Would you if you see something on there, do you think you'd feel that passionate about it?
I wouldn't call someone out, no, but I would put a video out there.
Why not?
With the same question with my answer.
Why wouldn't you?
Because to be honest, we might be inexperienced in a certain department, so we look at military as like our kind of like market that we were built upon. So we learned a lot from the military. That gives us a wide audience and therefore a wide berth of experience. So if we were, I don't know, fee-free doctors' mortgages, we would know a lot about the differences within their profession. So I might come up with a hurdle with a doctor, which I'd go and find the answer to. I would, but I wouldn't know it instantly. So I might be up against something where I'll learn, and I'm all about learning. But what I wouldn't do is put something out there if I wasn't 100% all over the subject. But when someone is saying that might be because that person had experience where its mortgage got declined because of a reference. Let's say that reference was fraud on the bank statement, or gambling, or drug money, or whatever the daft reference would be. But it's all about communication and talking to the underwriter and saying, come on, realistically, that was there, but it shouldn't be there. But that's like, that was just dark humour. Like, are you going to get knocked back from a mortgage because you're a Ricky Gervais fan and you like his stand-ups on Netflix, or the movies you watch and stuff like that? So to me, it was wrong to put that fear in people, because does that stop someone getting a mortgage for 3 months because they go, oh shit, I put this on my statement to my mate? No, because they need to just explain it. If it's a constant transaction from one friend, we would query it anyway. Believe it or not, Laura, when she's checking a file, she has to query those things. We've got a £25 a month going out to so and so, and it says this. It's probably savings for a lad's holiday or whatever. But they've used a funny reference. But we question it, and as long as we document it, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like, we know the world that we're living in, and that's a bit of like humour, and it makes someone dare to do that to a mate and have a laugh about it.
Of course it does.
So like, when we see things that we don't agree with, or we would class as wrong, I'll do a video. I won't mention them, I won't call them out, but I'd put a one that's out there, right? Because then
so you would try and
but because it needs to. We will do a video where we will touch on it and say, yeah, it's not ideal. A bit like gambling. Like,
Yeah.
if you put it out there and say, if you gamble and it's on your bank statement, you won't get a mortgage. That to me is putting fear in people. It's for your own, because you want that video to go viral.
Yeah.
Because the one person who's an innocent saying, like my wife, she's she might put a bet on the Grand National once a year.
Yeah.
To her, that could be a big thing and panic, and she might lose sleep over that because she thinks, oh, we're getting our mortgage renewal up, and I did that one day. I did a gamble, bit of gambling on the Grand National. I put £2 on. That's where you need to back it up with evidence. You can't put the fear in people. So if you said to me, I gamble once a week, I do 10 a bet on a footy accumulator, I'd say that's fine. So if times were hard, would you stop that? Yeah, of course. But if you said, nope, I'm addicted and that's what I would do every week, I would build that into a hobby.
Yeah.
Like, because you once a week you put 10 quid on.
Because the other thing is, you don't know if you see 20 quid a week coming out as just cash, they could be going into bookies, couldn't they?
But I take what I would do is take that 10 quid is an affordability factor that is going to continue. So if I'm going to get your mortgage, I'm going to put that into the calculator to say, and I'd
same as if you
expose
paid
it
for
to the
Netflix
lender.
or something like
Same
that.
as you paid for Netflix, same as you've had a season ticket for the football. But if you every now and again had £1,000 going out the day before payday when they took you into your overdraft, then I'd be saying, look, you need to get a grip of that.
Yeah.
So putting out there is easy to put a 30-second video on TikTok to say, if you gamble, you're not going to get a mortgage. That is, to me, is just trying to get bites.
Yeah.
Whereas we would rebuttal that with what I've just said.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the point, isn't it, really? You're not going out there just to fish people in. You're not going out there for the shock factor and stuff. You're going out there to give relevant advice or information.
Yeah. And conversely, if we see stuff we actually agree with that mortgage advisors are saying that's really relevant and is important, you could duet the video of that mortgage advisor and say, entirely true. Like, this is something that is across the industry. So give more prevalence to the things that are accurate.
I hope that people would do that with our videos.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the sort of thing we're hoping to do as well.
I'm into them. Well, it's my wife, but for some reason it comes up on my feed as well. Probably because I'd see it and send it to her and think it was funny. But chiropractors, when you get a good crack.
Summers or
So there's this one that does.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going to add it.
So it's an actual chiropractor watching someone who's clearly not qualified to do the bits.
Oh, right, okay.
And you watch them duet and then they're like, oh, it's like, what I mean? And that's fear, and they don't really say anything. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's given really good advice, why try and steal it off them and do it when you could actually share that by me sat alongside giving a thumbs up and nodding and agreeing with it, because they've said it perfectly. Like, kudos,
Exactly.
And it's like kind of also giving them a bit of spotlight to say, look, I'm not just because I'm saying I'm a mortgage advisor doesn't mean that I think you should use me. There's others out there, and find one that fits you. It might be someone who's local, so you can go in and see them, but it might be someone that you relate to and you think, that person is someone I can trust, and therefore, why wouldn't you use them if they were more the type of person that you wanted to be dealing with? I'm not scared of it. It was interesting that Quilter had said to us when we had our last meeting with Financial Promotions, we have regular meetings with them to get a gist of what we can and can't do, where areas of risk are that we need to avoid to make our lives easier in terms of the process, because it is a long process. A lot of Alice's time is taken up with putting things in for review, yearly putting them back in for review. And we need to know what we can and can't do, because otherwise we spend a lot of time with Baz creating things that is impossible and need adjusting. When we had that meeting, the Quilter said we feel over 3,000 advisors that we have and deal with, you are by far the most active in keeping us busy by a long shot. And that's great, because we are there doing what we should be doing and putting ourselves out to customers to say, we're here, use us, and we're doing, in my eyes, the right thing. It's not like what you go on these things for, but I think having that wide mix of it is what helps that app, the TikTok, the Instagram, is that it's not just about fitness industry. It's not just about pretty pictures, sunsets and holidays. That you've got a mix of that, and I think as long as we put it in the same language as TikTok users and Instagram, then
it's trying to get something relevant out among all the.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah.
The podcast in a couple of years' time might be that didn't work, did it?
Yeah, exactly. But you got to try.
Yeah, but there's nothing. It's not like you're going out and buying a massive advertisement or flying a banner over in the sky or something like that and paying loads of money towards it. It's time and effort, obviously, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's something that's you literally, if it doesn't work, you erase it, you start again.
Today we're doing a lot we're spending the full day, me and Alice, doing a lot of videos to put out there and to fill it with content, and we need to do it properly. We're not scripting it, but we're just going to be shooting lots of 30-second clips and stuff. We've done it before on YouTube, so we're just updating that information.
Yeah.
And when we get it out there, we did a little teaser the other day to say that we're going to do it. It was something that you mocked up, actually, because I know you'll be knocking up our videos just to make them stand out, rather than me sat there with myself. We put a bit of branding on it so that you get the flavour of it being PGS. And I put it out there as a teaser, and I sent a clip to you, didn't I, to your personal phone, because obviously it was after work hours, and I just said, look at that, 800 views already. Yeah. And all it was saying was like, stand by for a lot of videos coming out on TikTok. Yeah. So we'd reached 800 people just off a video. And like, if there's going to be something that's relevant that gets shared, then as a positive, we're going to get more customers because people are going to get to know who PGS as a far in a world that we haven't touched yet. Whereas also we're covering that base because someone might only be on TikTok that isn't on Facebook, because Facebook to the younger generation is kind of gone. It's an older generational social media, and it's just given us, we're being fair because we're covering all bases. Like I say, we're not on the TV adverts yet, but a lot of TV adverts would be skipped by the younger generation.
I was going to say, I mean, to be honest, I'd rarely watch anything live anyway now, and if I do,
my mum won't mind me saying this. She's got no choice really, but she wouldn't mind me saying it. But like, she watches things like Emmerdale and stuff like that, and you have the adverts in, and who pops up? David Britton, my mate David Britton, who owns David Britton Estate. He'll pop up and his adverts are there, but his audience has no age limit. Yeah, and his audience, because he sells houses from 0 to a million. Then it could be anybody. So he needs to be on that type of medium. For mortgage advice, you don't see many adverts for mortgage advice because, like I said, we'll be on a streaming service or a paid service which cuts out the adverts. And it's not like skipping between the break in Emmerdale at the peak time. But for David Britton Estates, I mean, he's nationally recognised, and he's from a little town like we are, a little village like we are. So it's one of those where it works for some people and it might not work for others. And I think that's what we're good at, is recognising where we should be. I mean, I've made mistakes and I've learned. I went and sponsored Soldier magazine in the military, and I don't mind saying that cost £2,000 to sponsor the back page, put our advert out there.
Plus my extortionate artwork costs.
But I mean, I can't measure the amount of people that used us. We did get a couple of customers that said, I saw you in Soldier magazine. Yeah. We don't know how many that saw us, took the details, and then later came back and just forgot where they saw us. When it comes to advertising, there is a bit of that risk. Like when we sponsored the Northern Irish Veteran Awards, that was massive success for the business. Yeah. But it was also something that will be there forever, because them images of people winning awards get shared, and we're all over that. So like, I think I learned a lesson with Soldier magazine that the military are more about doing than just being there in an advert. They want to hear word of mouth success, and by sponsoring an award like that, that's telling the military guys that we've not just got your back when you're in the services, we've got your back as a veteran as well. So I think I'm learning along the way. This is why Alice is so valuable to the company, because she comes from a background where she's had to do this herself. She hasn't just done this for another company, which to me, if you worked and employed for another company, you're not going to put that passion into it as much as your own. So Alice has learned her lessons from her own business, and will probably save me a lot of time from going down routes where it is a waste of time or it just won't work. So that's where I'm excited to work with Yous too, because that's who's in the gang of this marketing side of PGS, to really push the boundaries and get out there and reach people that we might not do, that when they do meet us, they'll think, yeah, you know what, I'm comfortable talking about my outgoings and income to this person.
So you've covered this sort of social media, so the technology kind of aspect. What about local advertising in the press and things like that? Do you do any of that?
We do that for the community. We're doing the charity events, and that's trying to of course, selfishly, it raises our profile. There's a selfless aspect of it because we're doing something. Like when we went up to, I've never had a better day for a long time than going up to Eden Animal Rescue.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And cleaning out things. We're going to take the kids up there and do it. And that'll be off the social media, you know what I mean? We'll go up there and the kids would love helping, clean out the dog kennels and stuff like that. It was just weird because we were helping, making such a difference, and it just made you feel good about it. So again, selfishly, it made me feel good.
Yeah.
But by doing that type of work, whether it's raising 3,500, which we eventually got for the Great North Air Ambulance, I think that's a bit of give and take, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we'll get a reputation from it, but we're doing something, and that's how we help the community. So if we are in the local newspaper, it's because they're highlighting the good things like that we're doing, as opposed to me. I'll not be sticking an advert in the Herald to say come and use us for mortgage advice.
Okay.
And again, that's the audience. Like, who buys the paper? What age range of people buy the paper? Don't know many 18-year-olds who would go out and buy a paper. They might read it.
Yeah.
I read it, but I've grown up with the big old Northern Echo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, if it was me and I was thinking I need to find a mortgage advisor, to be a few things. Word of mouth, first of all. That's it. I think I'd probably do that before I went and searched for someone. See who your mates use, see who your parents or whatever would suggest. And then, obviously, I was just joking.
I am joking.
It's because I said I had friends, isn't it?
That's exactly it. Shocked.
So, like, word of mouth, and then I'd to be honest, it'd be, unless I'd seen something, as you say, and it might work subliminally, I don't know, on Facebook or something that's popping up, I'd probably just Google. So I take it. So where are you at now, website-wise? You've rebranded the website. I think we said on one of the other podcasts, you've rebranded your website, so you've got your social media covered. I take it you're now working on sort of strategizing and trying to get yourself up in the rankings.
This is another question that you know the answer to.
Yeah, I do know the answer. You're just trying to give a bit of content.
No, but yes, the SEO. I mean, it's been a bit of a rabbit hole of learning, but I think we've got the gist of it. Like, all these things that we're doing externally, like the podcast, is powerful because we're on Spotify, and that all adds into the authenticity of who the brand is, because it links back to the website, and the website then, if it's as a thing that everything feeds into, gets a reputation on Google, which allows, when you type in Appley Mortgage Advisor, we're going to be there first. You type in Cumbria Mortgage Advisor, we're going to then compete because of the reputation of the website to how high up the listings we are. That's without any paid work, and we don't do that.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to be above the likes of the Mortgage Advice Bureau and things like that? No, because they put too much into their budget of getting to the top. That's fine. So all of this is powerful, and there's definitely a strategy to do it. So we're doing TikTok, we're doing podcasts because we want to build up the brand, and that's how technology works. All links to the first podcast. And this is a learning curve for us because we wanted to do this, but accidentally it has such a benefit to the brand website that it'll all pay off. And the longer we do this, the repetition of posting it at the time, I think is just fantastic. And we see that because we get the stats back from the guys who built our website at Verse. They come back and they show us how we're climbing those rankings. But because of Barry, let's give him a bit of credit for once. Can we edit this out, Baz? It's so basically, Baz is very good at absorbing information, especially on the technical aspect, to be able to do it himself. So the good thing is that normally you'd pay potentially £1,200 to £2,000 a month for the SEO build of a website, because that takes over. It's not something you can do in a day. It's growth over the year. I guarantee you, Baz can take this on and save me that money.
Yeah.
Telling them this now, he's probably put his prices up.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just like I'm learning it, and all I can do is this, what I'm doing now. It's the background stuff that Baz does within the website, within putting in the content, and it's just simple stuff like using the term Cumbria, not Cumbrian. So we talked about ourselves on the website being a Cumbrian mortgage broker. No one types that into Google. Someone would type mortgage advice mortgage broker Cumbria, not Cumbrian mortgage broker. Yeah. But we're not going to appear when that was the only link to Cumbria. So it's just learning things like that.
It's a minefield. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
And I think
it's fun though. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's hard to get your head around, but as you see it, the worst thing is it's not instant success. It's not like you change those, you look on there, you're suddenly at the top of the rankings. Like, as you say, it's gradual, and it kind of evolves. But when you see that you're getting up there, you know that it's working. And the only reason that's going to work is by more people clicking on your website. So then you have to do your Facebook and everything else.
Yeah, so you've
the
just
website.
You can't lose momentum because we'll fall behind. Luckily, we've pushed ourselves to the front of that Great North Run, so we've got the chance to stay ahead of the crowd and not be slowed down, and we need to stay
consistency
ahead. So we can't stop off for a brew on the way and go to the toilet. We've got to just keep going. I like the analogies.
I know. I was listening to
don't know
the
where
bus
they
stop
come from. I
on the
know,
other day.
oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
I'm clipping that up because it's just constant
But
about.
I get
this and
these
the
in
bus
voice
driver.
notes when there's work to be done. And
Is that not true? Is that not true? So if I'm at the front of the run, I've got a better chance to stay at the front, isn't it? And the only way to stay at the front is keep putting that effort in. And
Well, you have, unless you flog all your resources into getting to the front, and then you're not good. You need to have, which I think you have got. Luckily with us too, I think you've got but I think you've got a strategy, and I think strategy is important. I think looking, which you are very good at. I'll give you a bit of credit for once. You're very good. If not, maybe it gets in the way of something you're doing at the minute. You're looking ahead, and I think that's what you've got to do. You're looking ahead, thinking these rates are going to change, blah blah blah. But also, we need to be getting into this market. This is what we need to be doing.
So with that, let's wrap this up because we're getting up to an hour now.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'll have to let you do your little bit. This is where Baz puts us on the spot.
See if I drag these out, do I get paid more?
Nah. See what you got. Is that your first question?
That was really quick.
It's like the genie. It's like the genie from Aladdin. We get Baz gets 3 questions.
Trying to think what I asked you last time. What was good about working here? What was not good about working here? Right. Well, I'll ask easy-ish ones. What is your background? I don't think we've covered what your background is and why Paddy has been tasking you with social media side. Like what have you done social media wise, and how are you so good at it?
I think it's just purely because I built my business,
Which is
Arena Equestrian.
Is that our website? Is that .co.uk?
Yeah, .co.uk.
Okay.
So I built that pretty much fully.
Cumbria.co.uk as well, just to get that in again.
I love that you throw them both in all the time. So I built that up to like the following of about 120 odd thousand on Instagram, and then the Facebook's got quite a high following, and I just use all the social media and it works for me, and it's how I drive a load of traffic. I've done lots of work
to get that kind of thing then. So how many videos and stuff are you having to put on there to get that kind of traffic?
Well, it's changed quite a lot from when I first started doing it, where I'd put on kind of 2 or 3 a day. But it's like you say with the newsletters, when you're bombarded with something, you start to ignore it.
Yeah.
So now I more or less will just put 1 post on a day when I know there's going to be a lot of traffic on my social media sites, which is obviously quite an easy thing to find out. So that's the sort of thing I do for Paddy.
So there's quite a lot of background research you have to be doing though, isn't there? There's quite a lot of little trends that you need to look out for to make sure you're hitting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Targets, really.
But it's like we're saying about mortgage advice and not kind of competing for the business. A lot of the other companies that do what I did, we all get along really well. We'll talk about what's working. We'll talk about what events work, because it's one of those where blowing somebody else's candle out doesn't make yours burn brighter.
Well, this is it,
yeah. So that's
an
kind
analogy,
of
Paddy.
yeah.
That
there you
is an
go.
analogy.
Learn.
Yeah,
I can start talking about the Great North Run just to make him feel better. I don't know.
It stops.
But this is why Alice
Alice wasn't. You weren't looking for a social media
power planner. She's employed as a power planner. That's what a contract is.
I forgot what my contract
says.
says.
Just for anyone, a power planner is kind of like does all the heavy lifting for the mortgage advisor, does the applications, submissions, and things like that. But what we had was Pat James Solutions Instagram page, which was emerged from my personal page. What we've done since is because like no one's going to follow Alice if they're not into horses. I was going to call them horses. Horses.
Great.
But they're gonna follow you because that's what they're interested in. You're not going to follow a horse clothing brand, equestrian clothing brand,
unless you're interested.
Yeah. And that's why we've gone from Pat
that's like
Solutions. But what we've done, Pat James Solutions, what does it do? So we've now created all the other pages. We've got a lot. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we've got the fee-free landlord mortgage advice, fee-free police mortgage advice, firefighters, NHS. We've got life insurance, and the military. Yeah, the military. So we've gone down all. That seems a lot of work to create all of those, but the reality is we want to be appealing to that particular audience. So the NHS should be following that page, but we're not going out there and clicking send all requests and multi-spamming people because that way we're going to annoy people. Whereas if you see the NHS brand and it comes around on a reel or whatever, and you're an NHS person, you see fee-free mortgage advice. If you don't have a mortgage advisor already, why wouldn't you be following us? Because you're going to learn some things that's specific to you, and you're going to be able to use us, and it's fee-free. So we're being clever in that aspect, and that's again kudos to Alice, because I might not have saw that when I'm thinking, right, just let's build a brand Patrick James Solutions. I think you pointed it out as well, Baz. Like it's all good for your branding, but what does Patrick James Solutions do? It's too wide. We need to be more specific, like you are. If you just did clothing and you advertised as clothing, but you had a one aisle that was aimed at horsey people again, well, you wouldn't be as successful as you are. So you could have, because you could have easily took on the whole market and tried to be greedy and put activewear and things like that, but then you wouldn't have the following because there's too much about it. And I think you're more successful.
It's all about USP, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's all about getting that little niche.
Yeah.
And how many followers have you got on your Instagram?
I think 124,000 is on.
We've got something like 1,400.
That's not a relevant question because it's me asking the questions, but I'll let it.
Yeah, we can let that one slide.
But that just shows. Well, it shows where. I mean, how long's that taken you to get that?
I think it's probably been it's been up about 6 years or something. So it's going by about 20,000 a year.
Well, I'm a big fan of James Smith, and you said you were too.
Yeah,
really and he talks a lot about how he for every day for like a year.
Go on, who's James Smith?
James Smith, he's a PT. Lots of PTs about. He just stands out. He's a bit like us, and he cuts the BS out of things. He squashes myth busts a lot to do with the diets. Gets rid of like dieting doesn't work. It's calories in, calories out, and he's right. Yeah. That's scientific.
Like
fact,
simple.
So I think people relate to that. But what my point was that he had like a vision board, and he wanted to get to say 1 million followers on Instagram, and he just kept going and going and going and going. And he said he was literally just. That's all he did. He was following other PTs and trying to interact with their clients and get his following up. And he really pushed that target, and he hit it. When he hit it, it was like, wow, like that, I've done it. But he also had that challenge within himself to email every single day, just bulk email all his clients to try and get sales. And I think for a year, he did it. Every day, he'd write an email, send it like a blog, like we're doing, and he got nothing for about a year. Then he got one sale, which cost him made him 90 quid, and then he worked out the hours he put into that and how much he worked was, and it was pitiful. Yeah. Whereas now he's got one of the most successful PT businesses.
But do you not think that's similar to what you're doing? As in, you're simplifying things for people.
Hope so.
Yeah.
And this is what it should be about. It should
be at the start of this. Yeah, we're not at the start of the PGS journey. We're 10 years in. But we're now at the point where we've gone from having a conveyor belt, which was fantastic. We've now built this machine, which is the system, the physical office, and the ability to be able to deal with.
Well,
so I wouldn't be putting these podcasts out, and I wouldn't be putting all these different channels out and TikTok if I wasn't able to cope with the amount of customers that I could potentially bring. Yeah. Because imagine that if I suddenly had 100 people knock on the door and said, "Could you help us?" Clearly, we would have to service those, and it would take some time to get them into the diary, but we could. And I think those that haven't prepared for that and put the building blocks in place, the foundations, then they soon would let the reputation go to pot, because people wouldn't be saying, "Yeah, use him," because we're taking too long to answer the phone, not getting back. And I think we've built that. I mean, could we cope with 1 million people knocking on the door? No. But realistically, can we turn off the social media channels? Yeah. So we can turn off that initial point where people would come in. So we could quiet it down. I used to do it in the past. I don't think I'll do it in the future, because I think we've built this machine to be able to...
But you've kind of tested that out almost, well, not on purpose, when the whole thing happened with the bank interest rates and all that, and you were getting loads and loads of inquiries that you weren't monetising because people were just coming to you for advice. And you've tested that by seeing how busy you were. You weren't making anything from it, but you know that the system works, and you know that you've got the staff who can cope with that. So now you're at the next stage where you need to just drive the business, get the business in.
Yeah, exactly that.
Right, next question. How long do you spend on social media? And I don't mean as in you doing stuff. I mean you watching stuff. And bear in mind that you've got a small child, so you should feel quite guilty.
Yeah, I mean we watch a lot of her stuff, like the Wiggles and things. Does that still count?
No. I mean, how long do you spend just scrolling and scrolling?
To be honest, not that long, because now that I'm doing it at work, and obviously I do it for my business.
So you spend your day at work scrolling around on social media?
Of course, yeah. Whenever I get 5 minutes.
Is that what paraplanners do?
Pretty much.
How long would you say, Paddy, then? So you're at one end of the scale. You busy, you're working, you're obviously a mum, you've got a family, you're on other business. How long do you spend on social media?
I'll probably treat myself, as in like I'll do that, wasting time procrastinating, but not a lot.
That's what I was going to get around to. I think a lot of it is, to me, it's you've got these things on your mind and you want to just escape a bit. So I think
I don't do as much as I probably used to, and I'm quite disciplined with it. My phone goes into dark mode at 9 o'clock, so it doesn't give us notifications. It goes in black and white so that it's harder to see, and I don't think it plays audio. So I try and escape it. The problem is my phone is my business. So if it beeps or whatever, then it's never like kind of something that's not going to help me switch off. So if I'm on social media, I'm on my work phone, as in which is my personal phone as well, and I could get distracted from the distraction I'm trying to give myself. So the best way for me to switch off is kind of like sticking a movie on, sticking a series on. But yeah, of course, like when I'm on Instagram to post a picture or a reel myself, like I'm lost in that world. So sometimes you can get lost while you're creating. And TikTok will be like that. As soon as we get off this podcast, me and Alice are doing the work, and we're going to be building on TikTok, and we'll be looking at how others are doing it. So we'll be clicking through it and things like that. But I hope that it doesn't mean that when I took TikTok on, I hope it doesn't come a distraction, and I'm quite disciplined, so it won't. But I can see why it would.
Yeah, it does for me. Yeah, massively.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because you kind of think it's bad in a way because you lose hours, but then I don't know. It's sometimes you need to have a bit of trash time. No?
I just think I can see through it, and things which will catch us a little interest. I love having a good giggle and humour, and like sharing things with people, and like especially like houses. I'm like Rightmove, and you see a good house and stuff, I'll send that to the wife and things like that. And like maybe like Labrador puppies and stuff like that. People just find that. And now my son's on his YouTube shorts, he'll send me bits on his phone. So I get it completely, but that's the world we live in now. And what we're doing is we're trying to sneak within that.
Yeah.
So that hours pop up in between everyone. That's where people are living. People are living there like they used to on like the old Saturday night when they'd watch Jeremy Beadle and go over to Blind Date. And the adverts in between them was so powerful but also expensive. We're trying to slip into that area where these people who's 18 to 30 who are buying their first home are going to be able to recognise our brand. So if we're there, you don't just see us and buy a house. You see us and you think, I know them. What were they called? And it's amazing. Have you ever done it where you've seen a video and it made you laugh? You didn't share it, but you've seen it, and you need to go back and get that video. You can find the video. It's crazy. You can type in the bits that made you laugh and you'll find it somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think as long as people are able to do that and we're out there.
And it's free, isn't it? You're not, as long as you're not...
Just the time and effort, like you said,
Which is, it's amazing compared to when you used to have to pay for everything, you know.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So basically we got from that you both spend lots of time just flicking around on...
What a job,
not doing any
exactly.
work. So Alice, last question.
Okay.
Where do you see it going then? So once you've got your regular videos and stuff like that, what you got in plans next for getting?
I think we're just going to see. We'll see what works. Is kind of what we're aiming for now, because everything's so new and because I've only just started. We don't actually know. We might do all of our kind of engagement on TikTok, or we might do nothing on TikTok. We'll just see how it goes and then develop more of a strategy once we've got everything up and running. We might get a load of queries from the podcast. You just never know where it's going at the moment. So for me, I'm just going to be monitoring and analysing where we're getting the leads from, and then just try and produce more of that.
Like where to spend our best time, what's
and
working.
The benefit of social media is you do get so many opinions from clients or potential clients. So me and Paddy might record a load of videos today and people will be like, yeah, that's great that you talked about that, but we really want to know this. And that's how we're going to go.
It's interaction again though, isn't it? It's getting people, if you can get people talking about things, you're getting people involved.
There's nothing you couldn't ask me that I couldn't answer.
Really?
Challenge
really? No. Like, realistically, mortgage-wise, there's nothing I couldn't answer. It might be that the answer is you need to book in for an appointment. You know what I mean? It might be that. Because
I'm going to chuck one at you now then. My mate at work I was talking to, he's mid-20s, wanting to move out, but I don't know what his wage is. He reckons that there's no chance he'd need a massive deposit to get a mortgage. Is that right?
Well, it's
Do you know what I mean? Like, would it like
that's
to make it
typical. So you come to me with that. And
so what I'd say to him
what
is get in contact with you. Basically.
But that's what he would need to do, because like it's all good, but the answer is, well, how much is he looking at buying this house for? If it's £1 million and he can only get a mortgage of 100 grand, then yeah, he needs a good 900 grand deposit. So there always are people are wanting that quick answer to, yeah, this is the scenario, but it literally goes back to what's your name and date of birth. Yeah, it goes back to your address history. It goes back to every little bit that builds up the fact find on you. So always the answer, I could be political and just the answer could always be book in for an appointment and then we'll help you.
My kind of point to him was, I said, go and see Paddy. He will sort you out one way or another, and you'll know whether it's possible. Blah blah blah. But he was kind of like, it's not going to be doable. And I think that's one thing you're going to have to break down.
Well, but this is myth busting and doing the videos, because people will think, well, actually, if he can help the person who didn't know if they could get a mortgage because they haven't started the job yet, I've got a question for him. I wonder if and that's hopefully they'll see the confidence of, like, he's got an answer for everything. And that's what I mean when I'm trying to be big-headed there and say, there's nothing I'm afraid of you asking for mortgages, because the answer might be, it's never going to be, I'll go away and I'll find out the answer. That'll come as part of the fact find, because there'll be bits where I have to go and speak to the lender and liaise with them to see if everything else regarding that particular person fits their criteria. So I think it's all about the bigger picture, but we could. And I think we could do a podcast where we advertise it well enough in advance and we get all those questions from people rather than doing a live. And this isn't because I want some time to prep. I think it's one where we could literally try and answer every single question. The difficulty there is that we have to then send that podcast off to get approved, because we're technically given advice. We could put a caveat on. We're not asking people to contact us, but we're giving information that's bordering on advice, because there's a fine line. It's not even a fine line. It's kind of, it is advice in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, how I see this is with Alice and what she's doing and what she's bringing to the company, we need to go around in full circle, and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. Adam, so a big shout out to Adam Gorse, who's our kind of chief power planner. He took on a few different roles whilst here. He's been here 6 years, Monday just gone. And he's now leaving the company. He's going to go off and try his skills in a different industry. We're supporting him doing that. But what it does create a bit of a hole in the company where we need another power planner. So insert Alice, who originally came to do that. So Alice's role is going to go back to, after this really extensive social media marketing build that we've just gone through, the website, the social channels, that's going to lead a lot, probably 2 full working days a week of kind of continuous work to manage it. With that, Alice is doing a lot of creative work on an industry she's still new in. By Alice stepping back and doing some power planning over the course of that week around her social media and marketing role, allows her to get really, really like her hands dirty within the mortgage process and industry. So she's going to be gaining that knowledge that when she first started, that's all she did, just a power planner. And you learn a lot. But then we took her away from it to build on this other strength that we recognised. But now we're putting it back in it. And I think that is just going to be perfect for allowing us to grow, because you asked how will we grow this, because at the moment Alice is learning alongside it and probably learning, and
she'll pick up questions from the
website but now she's going to go back into the front line and be working with the advisors to submit the mortgage applications. So I think that's going to be powerful for what we're doing, because otherwise it's a bit like you're doing this and you're learning about mortgages, which is crazy.
I'm trying,
but you were a complete novice when you started. Whereas you're learning because you're having to put this content together for us in a media format. But to do that, you've got to read it, proofread it, and check it. So you're actually taking in information without even knowing. And so are you. So I think by Alice going back on the front line and 3 days a week doing the power planning role alongside this, that's just going to mean that you're going to get more from her, because the stuff that we're creating together and that we're putting into the website, she's doing it from her background and knowledge, as opposed to listening and working with me to give her that content.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's like you say, these things sometimes happen for a reason, don't they?
I think it's exciting. So
good.
We'll wrap that up. Thanks again for listening. This is podcast number 4. The myth we've just busted is you won't find a mortgage advisor on TikTok. Well, you certainly
Busted
will.
it.
Yeah.
Busted. So on to next week, and we'll look forward to meeting you there. Please subscribe. Should you want to leave any comments, ask any questions, please do so about this the podcast. Anything that you'd like us to myth bust in the future, then get in touch. Thanks again for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers. Ta-ta.